At each of the meetings, I try to present something about the Civil War, and what I decided to do is to make it as a news program. And I have been following the Civil War in the year of 1864, and right now we're at the point now where Gettysburg is over with. I mean, it's been completed, and so is Vicksburg, the two big battles that were so significant to the Civil War. There's still some discussions about what happened after Gettysburg. There was a chance to end the war, and yet General Meade was not that enthusiastic of providing the resources for them to follow up and chase Lee back to Virginia. And so a lot of things have been happening since July, and but I'm going to hop into August. Okay. So in August of 1864, in Virginia, the entire outlook was entirely different than what it was before Gettysburg. Petersburg was under severe partial siege at this time, and Richmond and the Confederate government were seriously, Richmond and the Confederate government were seriously threatened as well. The defense lines looked solid, but Lee's army of northern Virginia was sadly outnumbered. In the Shenandoah, General Early could expect a concentrated opposition. In Georgia, Atlanta, too, was under siege, and General Hood appeared no more successful against Sherman than Joseph E. Johnson had been before. Decision increased in the political circles. For the North, the victories of midsummer had been encouraging, but there too decision was rife. Radicals on one side of the peace elements, and the other badgered Lincoln, the Lincoln administration. The cost in manpower of Grant's campaign was both a political issue and a true concern. But all the cost of the manpower of Grant's campaign was both a political issue and a true concern. Since Grant had not taken Petersburg and Richmond and ended the war there, many faced with dread the prospect of another fall of a winter conflict. Many people expected the war to be over. The battles in the Shenandoah Valley, skirmishes in Maryland, West Virginia, Mobile Bay, Alabama, and Georgia were taking place. In September, this month of 1864, it was increasingly apparent that Atlanta, the second city of importance only to Richmond, would soon have to yield to Sherman and his huge army. The siege of Petersburg, near the Confederate capital, was tightening, but not yet critical. To the north, Sheridan and General Early sparred back and forth. To the west, the war consisted mostly of raids and sporadic operations. Nevertheless, both nations looked mainly to the southeast. On the home fronts, the fall harvest continued, and so did the political talk. In the North, 3 candidates for president were in the field. The incumbent Lincoln, the aspiring General George H. McClellan, and the radical dissident John Charles Fremont were vying for the presidency. The president and his followers followed signs of nervous jitters. Voices of opposition from the War Democrats, the Peace Democrats, the Copperheads, and others were coupled with loud, though perhaps not numerous, radicals and ultra-radicals, some of whom dreamed of dictating every Southerner his future way of life. Election Day was just 2 months away. On September 1st, a Thursday, the Confederates began to evacuate Georgia. On September the 7th, on Wednesday, evacuation of Atlanta was ordered by Sherman. And by the 17th, John C. Fremont withdraws from the presidential race. And that is the news up to today. Continued next meeting.